Today, I am joined by Kellan Webb, the new manager of Pontypridd United Women. How do you feel about getting the role, Kellan?
Yeah, I'm really happy about it to be honest. I wasn't rushing back into coaching, went back to help them out. Joined Drew's staff. Um, didn't expect to be manager a month or two later, but no, it's nice to be back into it and I'm really excited for it. Yeah.
First of all, how did you get the job? How did the job come about? And uh, who will be joining you at Pontypridd United?
So like I said, I joined Drew's staff back in I think it was end of September, just before the Wrexham away game. Just basically, I went and watched Taftwell versus Cumberland Celtic with Harry Ware. And he was saying that he thinks that Drew could do with a little bit of a helping hand at Ponty. I was saying how I live just around the corner, 5 minutes away from USW. Um, so he gave me his email. I contacted him, got involved, went and met Drew, got involved, and really enjoyed it. Then when Drew decided to step down, I kind of took charge that week. I knew Savs from the club was away in Spain, so I messaged him and just kind of let him know, don't worry so much. I've got sessions planned. Let me know if you want me to take the weekend. I'm more than happy to. But don't stress, there's a plan. I'm willing to do it, and whatever the club come up with then we can deal with. So when he came back, I had a little sit down with him. He said that they were obviously going to put out the the role, but he wanted me to do it in the meantime. He was going to get feedback off the girls on how they f felt it was going, which that feedback obviously was good because otherwise I don't think I'd have been given it. But no, it's overall been really positive. And yeah, that was basically how I got it. It took about 3 weeks from, I know that they were looking and after about 3 weeks I had a chat with Savs again and he said that they'd had a couple of applicants, but basically they were really happy with the way that things were going as in player feedback and from what they'd seen in games, and the development side. So they didn't really want to change that. And if anyone was going to come in, it was to support me. And that's the plan still. If anyone does come in, it is to support me, and it's I'm the lead, which is nice. Um, Coaching staff wise now then we've got Scott who was the 19s lead, but obviously with Drew going back down to the 19s, or back across the 19s even, Scott's now stepping up to us, so he's going to be leading our goalkeepers section. We've got two analysts. We've got Ev and Ellie who are analysts. Sam is our sports therapist, and then Charlie's our S&C coach. I have got a couple of discussions this week with a few people about coming on board, but we are looking. You can. I'm not going to say you can never have too many people, but it's always good to have as many people there as possible, as many different ideas and different mindsets there to try and help push the club. So yeah, we are looking, and hopefully I'll add one or two more to it.
You talked there a little bit about your time so far at the club. How have your experiences been in terms of working with the players and that both from your coaching spell and now interim last couple of games?
Yeah, so it was really nice actually. I think the little spell where I stepped in as into it, as a coach even before being into him was nice to kind of get to know the players a little bit and from that side of it, I wasn't just chucked in at the deep end almost because I already knew the players then when I was into him. I've really enjoyed being around them. It's a really good group of girls. They are young. There's no denying that. The oldest player in our squad is 23, I think it is. So, it's just about adding to their experience as well. I think there's a lot of quality there, which is nice. I don't think there's anyone in the squad that we're carrying, so to speak. I think we've got good quality, and it's just trying to keep them focused, keep them confident, so that they know that they can compete week in, week out.
You talk about the quality in the squad. Obviously, last season when you're at Calco Town Ladies, you faced Pontypridd United. What have your experiences been when you faced them? How have your experiences developed your understanding of the players?
Yeah, well, last year I think in the summer we lost. I think it was 10 players. Um, So there has been quite a lot of changeover of players from when I faced them last year, but there's also some key players that have stayed, like Caitlin Davis, who's captain. She's been brilliant, really welcoming. Nicole obviously was Adran South, the young player of the season last year, and she stayed, which is fantastic. And then you've got others who were in and around, Faye. Molly's such a lovely girl to have about the place. She was so welcoming on my first day, just made me feel like a part of the club straight away. Molly Jones, that is. You've got Faye, Lauren, who've also Faye's been at TNS, Lauren's been at Cardiff Met. You've got players who have been about, the Adran Premier as well, which is great. Um, but yeah, so it's nice to still have a couple of the players there who obviously help the club get up. They understand the club. But on a whole, obviously, it's a pretty new squad. Um, but they've also earned the right to be in the squad as well. They've earned the right to be at the level. So it's about making sure they know that.
Yeah. Obviously, there I touched upon your time at Caldecott Town Ladies. How do you think your time there has helped you prepare for this role?
I think it's developed me a lot, to be honest, as a person and my whole character. I think, here is quite nice. I can focus on the pitch a little bit more. I've been focusing on the coaching. I've got, I think, a bit more of a setup as a club at Ponty to be able to assist, with the off the pitch stuff, so I can focus on performances a bit more. That's not slating Caldecott, or I understand where the club are at. Um, and I maybe should have asked for a little bit more support from behind the scenes at Caldecott, and I took a lot more on board than I probably should have over the 5 years that I was there. Um, but it made me realize what I needed at a club to be able to step back into it. And that's why I took the time out at the end of Caldecott to kind of see when I was ready. And it was always going to be the right opportunity almost. I did have discussions with a couple of clubs, but I didn't want to step into something that I didn't think was right. Um, so stepping into Ponty when I did was a good decision for me.
Talk about some of the like facilities and stuff there. How do you think? Obviously, you've probably got in the USW Sport Park some of the best facilities in the league. How is that for you? Obviously, you've got uh, a perfect place to train, and obviously, a place to work.
Yeah, it's lovely, especially when the weather's the way it is today, mate, and we're going to be inside in the barn instead of out on the pitch. It's a godsend, to be honest. I was fed up of the Welsh weather getting soaked every Tuesday and Thursday over the last 5 years. But the facilities are brilliant, like you said. I don't have to go and book a leisure centre room or anything like that anymore to be able to go and do analysis. I don't have to try and get sponsorship from sort of gyms or anything to put on S&C sessions. We've got all that there. We've got the staff. Obviously, we can speak to the uni about trying to get staff in from the uni as well to assist with stuff. So, it's fantastic facilities there. I went to the uni there. I've known it obviously for 10, 12 years. I've known South since I was there. And yeah, it's great facilities, which I think all the players appreciate. And, they've got no excuses to kind of not develop themselves if that's hopefully, they're in the Prem and that's the way they want to go. They want to try and push themselves as much as they can. And we can kind of give them all the tools to be able to do that.
Looking now at the job as a whole, what are your short-term and long-term ambitions for you as yourself in the role and for the team?
Um, so as a team, to be honest, we are just kind of taking it game by game, trying to develop the players as much as they can. I think that's what the main focus is. We know, and that was the discussions I've had again with Steve, is we know the talent's there, but we also know it's going to be a tough season because of the quality in the league, and two, experience does make a huge difference. We know that. Um, so it is just trying to make sure the players are as positive as possible. They're learning, they're trying to, it's hard when you're not winning, when you're not getting results. We get that, but the positivity is there, and we're trying to just get them to enjoy it and push themselves more than anything and learn themselves. And that's what I've said is Whether I can teach them anything that helps them this season, helps us stay up this season, which I know is a big ask, or whether it just helps them over the next 10, 15 years of their career. As long as we can give them some information that helps improve them as a player, that's huge for me. Um, Personally, I've said to Drew when I came in actually in that meeting with him beforehand that my aim was to get on my A license at some point. So, I spoke to Savs about that. Obviously, that's part of the licensing requirements for tier one. And I said to him that I'd be more than happy to take on the role, obviously, but I would need the sort of support off the club to be able to do that. So that's my own personal gain there. But not only just about getting the A license, then it's the experience as well of managing the Prem and being able to go to all these different grounds and coach up against all these different people and network a little bit more, push my own knowledge as well. I think Swansea shows. I know obviously the final result was 5-1, but we really took it to him in the first half, and obviously the two goals after straight after half time kind of killed it a little bit. But I think it shows that I'm pushing the girls in a style that doesn't it's not my preferred style either, the way that we're playing at the moment. Um, but I'm having to adapt myself to be able to challenge at this level and compete at this level as well, and adapt my sort of philosophy and my methods a little bit to be able to make sure that the girls are competitive and keeping that then enjoyment and happiness factor up a little bit.
Um, yeah, experience is vital at this level, I think, especially if you want to obviously continue down the management route. Um,
Yeah,
you talk about style a little bit there. Is there a style that you prefer? And obviously, you've got to try and adapt with you've got a new group of players.
yeah.
What is the sort of style you would say you prefer to
Like
play?
I think whoever you are when you play football, you're on the ball. I don't know why you'd play football if you don't want to be on the ball. To be honest with you, that's the aim of the game, isn't it? And like I want to try and control games as much as I can in possession, and get on the ball and play. Is that always possible? No. So I've kind of had to adapt to that. I learned that not so much that side, but my formation side as well. I've had to adapt a little bit, and I learned that the hard way against Swansea in the first game, which was, it was that was just a day where we weren't we weren't good. They were very good, and I took learnings from that. I held my hands up in the change rooms. We changed stuff at half time, and I said I maybe could have changed a little bit more. Um, and I've gone away from that and I've adapted, and I think the performance has been a lot better since then. Obviously, it's a results business as well, so results need to improve. But we saw against Britain Ferry, conceded 83rd minute, I think it was, to lose. Barry, not Barry, sorry, Aberystwyth even kind of went back to my style a little bit more. I think we dominated them, to be honest, for the first 60 minutes. Absolutely brilliant for 60 minutes, and then unluckily, lost out. But again, I think that's the experience, the game management side of it, which you get from having two or three 26, 27, 30-year olds in your squad, that we just currently don't have. But they're learning each game, we can see that, and they see that as well. The positivity is there. So yeah, hopefully we'll see that.
Obviously, we talked earlier about the facilities a little bit. You've probably got the perfect facilities to try and play football on. Do you
Yeah.
think maybe, obviously, this season now is all about being adaptable, trying to keep the team in the league? Do you think maybe next season you'd look over pre-season to try and implement a style that you're more familiar with?
Um, yes and no. I think ideally I would. Ideally, I'd want to try and dominate the ball. I want to do that this year. Like I said, against Aberystwyth, we've done it. So I think that would maybe be something that we could focus more on to phase two. When we know we're going to be up against teams who we feel we could probably go and pick up 3 points from every game. Whereas I think we know against Swansea, your semi-pro teams, Swansea, TNS, Wrexham, and Cardiff, we're a little bit more up against it. That doesn't mean that I don't believe that we can get the results in those games either, and I make sure the girls know that. I think that if we're disciplined and we're working hard for the whole 90 minutes, then and that's 1 to 18, then we can go and get a result. But it's a different style of result, like you said, and against those three teams that we'll probably be up against in phase two, I'm hoping that we can get the ball down and play my sort of style a little bit more. And I know the girls enjoy that style a lot more as well. No one likes having to chase the opposition around to try and win the ball back. And I think they'd all prefer to have the ball. Um, but yeah, if not in phase two, then obviously that would be the plan for next season as well, to develop a style and a team that can go and dominate games.
Just to move away a little bit from Pontypridd and you, we've got obviously Wrexham currently top of the league in the Adran Premier. Currently, there's been a lot of speculation around uh, should they make the Champions League, they'll heavily invest. Do you think that would be good for the league, or do you think it could hinder the league slightly?
I think they've heavily invested anyway, haven't
True.
they? Um, Look, I think there's two sides to every coin in there. Like, I think obviously it'd be great if they do make it. You know, the reputation of Welsh football, that sort of stuff would be absolutely fantastic. Um, the only thing I'd say, and I know this might be controversial to say, is I think we'll see a gap, which is already kind of developing, I think. You can see it a little bit starting to develop with, you know, the fact that the semi-pro teams are in the top half at the moment and the non-semi-pro teams are in the bottom half. That's where I mean, I don't know if the FAW can do anything about that. I don't know. That's for other people to kind of sort out, isn't it? But look, it'll be great for them, great for Wrexham, you know, and ultimately I think you would see it pushed down, and I think it would benefit the North a lot more because you'd see maybe players who are invested in, if they go and replace them, then they might, you know, filter down to your TNSs or your Connors Key and your Llandudno and those sort of, and then eventually those players would filter down to other teams. You know, likewise, you know, we've had Maddie and Seren from Cardiff on loan this season, so that's taken obviously two places in the squad. So where did those two players go? They filtered to someone else and that sort of stuff. So it will have a positive knock-on effect in that sense. I just think sometimes it's a very big jump, and is it too much too soon for Welsh football? And is that gap going to be quite big at the moment potentially? But hopefully they can like narrow that out and make it so that it's still a competitive league.
Just a final question. You've got this weekend TNS in the Adran Trophy. What can we expect? How do you aim to face the test of TNS?
I'm not going to give you any secrets, Lee. No, look, we plan every week, and I make sure that I try and plan the girls as best we can. I think, you know, from looking at the first game against them when we went out there away, again, they'll probably have more of the ball, so we'll do a bit of off the ball focus. Um, which, to be honest, I think we've improved massively over the last few weeks. We haven't conceded as many goals from open play. We've we know you know, set pieces aren't our strong point at the moment. Um, but then against Swansea, we defended them really, really well. So it's just keeping on doing what we were doing really, and working on our shape, and then just being a little bit more effective on the ball as well. I think we showed again in the first half against Swansea that we can create chances. I think, you know, people see the goal we scored, but they don't see the four or five other really, really good opportunities that we created in that half as well. You know, their keeper made a great save at 1-0. If it went to 2-0, we're talking about a different game. Um, and it's just building the confidence from that as well, and knowing that we can compete. You know, they've played with some of our girls have played with some of the TNS girls as well, so they got to be aware of that side, that they know they can compete. But we'll go there, we'll give our all, we'll be organised, and hopefully we'll be able to cause them problems as well. And then, you know, who knows what can happen.
Kellan, thanks very much, and all the best for the rest of the season.
Pleasure, mate. Hopefully see you soon.
So.